Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 206 for August 8th, 2025, and it's an Open Lines Friday. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plant an App, and this is an event that we do once every week on Fridays, 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together, talk about what we're doing with Plant an App, and both from an insider perspective, what we're building, but also and mainly what you're doing with it, and maybe any challenges that you're having with it, things that we can help with. This is a wide open meeting, all skill levels from beginner to expert, and we have a lot of experts that show up week by week. I sure appreciate talking to you guys. We record all of these, put them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantanap, where you should subscribe and get the alarm bell and watch these over and over again. It's a great way to go to sleep at night, I guess. We run this agenda week by week. We stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we go around the campfire. We always do first call on anything you submit in advance, and then I always have a few things to talk about to round out our hour. After an hour, we go into our Afterglow segment where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, start the weekend, or in my case, my vacation. So do jump in, show and tell, chat with us, engage with us any way that you see fit. You can submit questions and topics in advance. If I have a chance, I'll do a little research, but I will put it on the agenda and we'll talk about it. With that, I will say hello. Hello, one and all.
Hello, good morning.
All right. Did anybody come with a first call, something you'd like to talk about? I have a stack of things, so we can get into them if you don't. All right. Come back if you want to. Um, First, I wanted to mention, let's see, last week we talked about in tokens, there's a thing called else part, and you can go back and take a look at that one if you, we're going to be doing a revamp in tokens, and so we're trying to figure out whether else part had any actual use, or whether it was just one of those things that we thought might be a good idea and isn't getting any traction. But there's another one, inline script support, and this is, again, if you look in tokens, there's this general settings, which people rarely go to. And in the security section, there is allow inline script access. And so this feature, um, I think it would allow you to put some razor right in the middle of an HTML module, and we would evaluate that for you. There's really, my understanding is there's many better ways to do this. For example, explicitly placing a razor token rather than doing razor uh, in the module directly. So we get more control and more centralization by putting it into tokens. But has anybody even heard of this feature before, or anybody using it? I take it from your silence that nobody is going to fight for this one. Right? Anybody watching in replay and having any feedback on this one, support@plantanapp.com is the place to register any questions or um, concerns about us potentially removing that from future versions of the product. Alrighty, moving on. Um, a little bit of an update, things that are going on. These are the things that our development team are currently working on that relates to things that you guys have asked about. So we call that our Kanban board. And so calendar view localization is well on its way to being done. It's in our QA department, so we're checking out, making sure we did a good job. So that would be calendars that have months and days listed with other languages besides English. The next one is uh, when you're editing, and this is kind of I think this has been a long-standing problem, but if you have in our token editor and you open up multiple tokens and you make changes to more than one, when you hit save on one, it actually you might lose your changes on the other if you haven't saved it. It only when you save one, it refreshes the screen on the other, which is an unfortunate behavior. So we're fixing that. That's in code review, meaning we're checking, making sure that it's right before we go on to. So it's still in the late stages of development. We had a bug that was reported about in the new workflow user interface. We talked about this in the past that you're trying to do a create token and you put a space on the end of a token name, and all of a sudden that token name actually has a space as part of its name. It makes it very hard to understand that it's there and address it. So that's in development. Someone pointed out to us this week that our action data source inline add, which is a nice way to let you add information directly, add records directly into a listing, that wasn't working in 127, so that's made it to code review. Um, our phone field, we updated the phone field to a much later version of the ITI library, which is great, but that particular version doesn't give you a divider between um, when you select your when you when you select your countries that were preferred countries at the top, and so the divider no longer shows. We're trying to figure out what to do with that. Um, we had a client that was trying to work with Excel and creating sheets, and actually not creating, but rather reading from sheets. And the sheet names had odd characters like ampersands and apostrophes in them. And Microsoft supported them. We didn't, and we updated it so that we could. Um, the our last week we talked quite a bit about our NavXP module. Um, the this is we had an issue with NavXP that you couldn't edit. This was a really great feature where you would have the ability to create your own menu and doing it by way of a session variable, for example. And we discovered that the session variable couldn't the ability to make a menu item be accessible based on a token wasn't um, working, so that's in development. And then there's a feature listing field tooltips that was broken, and that's made its way through code review. Does anybody have any questions about any of those, and any comments as to whether it's valuable for me to walk through those?
For the second question, yes. And for the first question, the localization, is that purely language localization, putting the local countries' words in for the month names, or is it also uh, uh, daylight saving time and other kinds of things like that?
Uh, there's no changes having to do with the way that times are done. It's only the months names and day names that are it makes a calendar look friendly in other languages based on
Gotcha.
where you're coming from. So if you're running a multi-language site, that would be the purpose of that.
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you can't tell, I've got somebody's working here in the house, and my wife is helping around. But of course, people show up right at the point where I'm on this international broadcast with all four of you, all four of us. Cool. Documentation updates. We have this new one here, pick item from listing. So bit by bit, we're making progress on our documentation. There's a new action that was brought in either late 126, but mostly 127, that lets you pick from a listing. I'm going to show this off here because there's also a contribution to Campfire. But this action is documented. So maybe that's a good point. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Um, in our contributions in Campfire, um, there's this pick item from listing, and if we go and take a look at that, there's a whole overview of explaining what it is, how it works, but easy probably to just take a look. I've got this choose contribution button, and so the idea here is I want to have a list of all of our I want to be able to pick from the contribution list and have that populate my form. So if I pick out number 131 here, download an ANSI, see the form fields fill in with the values that come from that. Um, so this is very handy in several cases. One of the cases would be if you want to fill in more than one field. If you do a drop down, you can get a key value or a text value. But if you do this pick item from listing, you can get as many fields as you want out of the listing and populate it into your form. So that's one reason. The other thing is that it's very efficient. The values don't load unless the listing is displayed, and listings tend to be very efficient in terms of retrieving data. So, and then you've got all the search capabilities and filtering capabilities. So you can either use a listing that exists or build one specifically for the purpose, but you can load any listing with that. Behind the scenes, the action is pretty straightforward to configure. So we have this choose contribution button. It has one action, the pick item from listing. You pick the listing module that you want to connect it to. So I connected it to my existing contributions listing, and you can map as many fields as you want. You just pick where is it going and what field is it coming from, and then so you could map 5 fields or 10 fields or however many you want. Feedback on the value of that action.
A clarification on the number of items that you can pick from the listing. Is it one item or is it multiple items?
Right. The idea is you're picking one item off the listing, but
Got it.
you can pick as many fields back from that listing and populate them into your form.
Got it.
So, for example, if you had a listing of contacts and it had first name, last name, date of birth, that when they pick that, you could populate all of those things into your form from one click.
Yep.
So there's a
Can,
video. Yes,
can that listing be a shared listing that's across multiple pages? So that,
absolutely. The one that I'm showing you is actually the same one as drives this. You just pick the listing from. I mean, the listing can be anywhere. You could, whether it's one that's already in use, or you could put them on a hidden page just to draw from. But when you pick the listing module, it shows you the name of it and the ID, and so you can just pick any listing across your system.
okay, so it doesn't even have to be on the current page. That's cool.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So you could build whether you could build them that are useful and from multiple places, or you could just reuse one. Like in my case, I just reuse the contributions listing. So yeah, it's a cool feature. We had something like it, but this has been enhanced and works with hidden fields as well. So, um, for example, if you're retrieving, if you might pick something off the list and it doesn't necessarily have to impact the visual aspect of the form. It could all the values could go into hidden fields or wherever you want them to go. So it's pretty cool. All right, so that's that one has been added. The hierarchy view is one that Jim, you had asked about, and so we mentioned this last week that it exists out here as an example in the contributions, the Cafe 154 hierarchy view, but now it's got an overview that explains the kind of the process for setting it up, and that's got a link to the video, and one day we'll build the documentation and we'll link to that as well. But at least now there's just a better path to follow if you want to set up a hierarchical data view. And
once I went through the video, I got mine working. It was pretty straightforward to do.
good. Glad it made sense. Yeah, this is a and I think this one is marked experimental, right? So the sales drill down for listing, what we're talking about is on the views. There's this hierarchy view experimental. So this is it's working, and we believe it to be useful the way it is, but we haven't fully embraced it as a permanent and unchanging piece of our product. But we're using it. We're using it, for example, in the files and section, and so I think it's going to be experimental only for a short time, and then it'll be fully part of the product. So it explains how to configure that and yeah, how to load it up. Good. And it's got these nice features, expand all and collapse all, and being able to attach JavaScript to it and push values into other forms and things like that. So quite a convenient view. I wanted to again, if anybody came with first call and we want to interrupt, please do. But absent that, I'm going to move on to how to create a campfire contribution because we have somebody that wants to, and I don't think I have any instructions explaining exactly the process. So if somebody doesn't stop me, we'll do a new one, and hopefully it'll be a useful one for you as well.
Dale, I'm sorry, I do have something,
Great, let's do it.
if you don't mind. You mentioned a couple of things that got me to remember. Something I was working on this week involved I needed to run a token and format the result. I just needed to make it lowercase and no space, that kind of thing. I'm vaguely aware that there's a format ability built into tokens, or maybe some tokens, I'm not sure. I couldn't find any documentation on that. I wonder if you could help me to see where I would find documentation for that.
Well, let's go look at the start, but we'll go to learn and in the documentation.
I did go there, just so you know.
Okay, yeah. So you uh,
I just wasn't good at finding it, I guess.
oh, I'm not sure that it's there, but I'll start with looking at it. Okay, here it is, adding text to tokens. So this is the formatting that we have available to us, and I don't think that I mean, you're not going to be able to use this for uppercase, lowercase, but this is the formatting functionality. So um, the if you put a single pipe uh, next to um, so you've got the data source of the token name, and then um, a pipe, the brace 0 brace will be where the token gets inserted. So if you have some text that you want to display, um, you can get the value of the token and then insert it into that spot in the token.
That's like if you want to add some text on the backside of what the token returned. Is that it?
Yeah, around it either way, and you could replace it more than once, for example. So, uh, uh,
I'm thinking there was something like the word format. There was the token syntax, and then a pipe, and then the word format, and then you could type in what format you wanted to return your token in.
well, so let's look a little.
Maybe just dates, maybe. I don't know. I saw
Yeah,
it
there's kind of a special
somewhere.
one for dates. So let's take a look at date, time, tokens, date, and time. If it's a date and time, that same area gives you you can format it using these special characters. So the standard calendar ones. So there's a little bit of magic going on. If it's a date, it knows to do it that way. But again, I don't think that there is a lowercase. On the other hand, let's look at core tokens. Actually, in our core tokens in the documentation, thought there was a ability to lowercase things. So let's take a look. No, I am wrong. So let's look at string. So I don't think there is a core capability to do that. There's by way of a workaround, a database token could take advantage of the SQL function, whatever that is, lower to lowercase or uppercase something. So it would be easy to build one.
And that's okay. I accept that answer. I could
Thought
have
you remembered
sworn
one.
that I saw a reference. It had the word format in it. It was inside the square brackets of the token syntax. And I thought, well, this is something I would like to find. But it's okay. I can let it go. I've already worked around it, but it was stuck in my head, something I want to know.
So now I'm
What is
looking
that right
at
there at the top of your, yeah, I saw it right there. It had an example of a token. It had the word format right in it. Right there. Here.
so this appears to be I think this may be just Razor script. I'm not certain. I'll be happy to provide. Let me add this to the chat. Place to take a look, but I again don't see it as part of and this is our older documentation, so I'm not sure how this impacts the new and experimental Razor. That's a better dialog. Okay. But there again, that's probably a rather than doing a database call, which is I kind of think in SQL, but rather than doing a database token, you could do a Razor token that adds the functionality to lowercase things or do any magic you want to. So, and you could probably build one that and then probably a regex expression that would do that, which could be done then with a string token. So I think those would be handy tokens to have, but they're not core built in.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Dale.
Sure. Let me find my way back here. So yeah, let's take on the topic of how do I create a Campfire contribution if you want to. So as a reminder, campfire.plantanapp.com has a contributions page. I've added a lot. Many of our community have added a lot over the years, and the idea is take some discrete technique and that might be useful for others. Add that as a contribution, and then it's a nice place when you're developing. You can go find here's techniques. Here's exactly how to implement them. So I have one that I'm going to develop here today. I've already done it in a test, so I can show you what it's going to look like when we're done. But somebody asked the question. I've got a nice long listing, and I want to be able to go, when I click the pager, to go from item 1 to 25. I want to go to the next one. But when I do that, I want to automatically scroll to the top. And so I click, and we go to the next page, and we go to the top. And if I go back, it will scroll back to the top. So it's rather than keeping the pager in view, it goes to the top of the list. So that's the little technique that I'm going to demonstrate today. And so I'll set that aside over here, and we'll go ahead and develop that. So if you're a developer on PlantAnapp, on campfire.plantanapp.com, you've been authorized, which anybody who asks, we will authorize. All you have to do is swear that you're not going to break anything. What you'll do then is under contributions, there are pages for each person. And so I've got a Dale Warner page. I make enough contributions that it's easiest for me to categorize them by year, but wherever you want to put them underneath your name, you can, whether you want to create a page structure or just put it right under your name. But I'm going to add a page under, I do them actually by month. So this is my August contributions. And so I'm going to call this scroll to the top. So, thought that one through to say what I was going to call. Scroll to top when user clicks next page. So we add this. Typically, we leave the permission set to all users have the ability to view it because we want, even if your people are not yet contributors to the site, we want them to be able to see it. And so this gives us a new page and kind of an empty canvas. So I like to delete out this HTML that gets added automatically for me, and then we'll demonstrate. First, we have to have a listing that we're going to operate on. So we'll add a user listing here and configure it with a list of users. And in my case, well, we'll save that much and we'll add all the fields to the display, and then under views, under data table, I'm going to change the pagination to be for 25 as one of the options and 25 as the default, so that when we view this, we have the symptom of, we have our list, we go to the bottom, we click the next page, and it goes to the next page, but it doesn't scroll to the top. And that's the inconvenient behavior that we're trying to combat this time. So the solution to this is a bit of JavaScript, and I'm going to do this in the form of by adding an action form to my page and adding the JavaScript to it. So we have a action form. We'll place, I don't think it matters where it is on the page, but we're going to put it above. Create a blank form, and since it's JavaScript that we want to add, this is very convenient to use a static text and the content. And what is the content? And this is the magic. And this is just a copy and paste of some JavaScript, and it will work for all of our current listings. The listings on the page, it's going to work. So it's a script that says document added event listener. It's looking for a click, and we're looking for the things closest to the navigation button class. Notice it's misspelled. That's the way it's spelled internally, so that's what we have to match up with. But we're looking for that. So if that target is clicked, then the window dot scroll to the top in a nice smooth way. Very straightforward little bit of JavaScript that I got my assistant to write for me. So we'll save that and go back to our page and close out of edit mode. And now if we go to the bottom and click the pager, it automatically scrolls to the top. I'm sure this could be enhanced so that it scrolled to the top of the listing instead of the top of the page and things like that, but at least gives you the idea. So hopefully that will be convenient for somebody as a feature. But to finish this out, first of all, a little bit of cleanup here. We have these things that have their default names, so I'm going to change them a little bit to say, call this the overview form. And as a matter of when you're making a contribution, it's nice if you will do a static text with an overview or somehow describe the name of what you're doing and a little description. I'll date this after the episode is over, but ideally then when somebody comes to the page, they'll see the overview of the thing. What is this about? They'll see the example at play, and they'll understand what to do with it. So hopefully the overview explains exactly how to take advantage of whatever it is that you're featuring. And then again, this is just being a little bit retentive, but I want to have my grid make sense. So this is the user's grid instead of action grid as a title. And once you have the page going and doing the thing that you were trying to do, Then the final part is to add it in the list of contributions. So we can just navigate. I've got the URL handy here. Navigate to the contributions, say new, say the page name, put the URL here in this page section. You can do it the full URL. I do it with starting with just the slash, so that if I happen to make a copy of this site, a clone of this site, they'll work anyway. But either way, you can do a fully qualified name or just a relative name, and then give it a name, which is going to be something very similar to op. And provide some kind of a description. So that it's listed as a contribution for all to see, and so people can hit go and just it'll take them directly to the page. They can see it and take advantage of it. So hopefully you or any, I know that we have people again that are interested in contributing. There was a nice contribution that I think, I hope it gets done in the next week or two. This is someone has developed a very efficient way to display all of the active users on a system taking advantage of cache. And so it's highly efficient, yet shows you user count, and I don't know what all it displays, but a nice how is my site being used kind of a display. So hopefully that'll get contributed here in the weeks to come. Any questions on the process of how to contribute? Good. So back to our pre-made agenda. There's I could do another one, and but I really don't want to dominate. If there's some other topic somebody wants to deal with, there's this feature, Textbox with Autocomplete URL, and it's a nice, efficient way to load a text box to get basically to get it to act like a drop down, but it's talking to an API. So before I jump into that, let me just pause a minute and see if anybody has anything else you want to get into for these next 20 minutes. Right, let's do it. This is going to be another contribution to Campfire, so I will make a page for it, just like we did before. What are we calling this? Text box with autocomplete URL. And we will add that page. So this has to do with forms. And so let's get a form on the page that we can work with. So we'll manage it and start with a blank form. We'll add a text box. And let's say this is, we're going to call this the selected user text box. So the goal is that we want to pick out a get a user ID selected, but let's say the user list is 10,000 users long, and so doing a drop down might be inefficient because it's going to transfer all 10,000 users to the site, to the browser, and so this is a good reason why you'd want to use it. So I don't know how much you've paid attention, but when you're doing a text box, there's this spot here that says Autocomplete URL. And so if you create an API that uses a get method, you can return the users as texts, as text and value, and this will automatically start acting like um, a drop down instead of a text box. So this is as far as we can go here without setting that up. The text box just behaves like a text box. You can type anything you want into it. So let's go ahead and create a query that we can use to fill up this text box. So I'm going to go to I'm going to do this in a new page. I'm going to go to the configuration page and go to APIs. Now this could be, I mean, it's very convenient to do it from a plant and app API, but it could be any API just so long as it conforms to the rules, and we'll kind of talk about those. So we'll do a new API, and this is going to be called user list for autocomplete. We can call it anything we want. I'm going to try to leave enough tracks about what this is about. It says it has to be a get, so we'll make it be a get method. And this is going to have an input parameter called query. And so the query is going to be used to filter down the list of users. So we'll say query, and the text box is automatically going to pass this query into us. It's just kind of by magic. So we'll see this at work. The actions that we're going to want to do for this case is going to be, we're going to create a list from SQL, select user ID as value, display name as text from users, where user ID, where display name like query. So we're using a bind token here. So we'll bind query to the value of %, which is a wildcard in SQL, and then our query that comes from the inputs, and then another %. You can do what makes sense in your setting, but as people are typing the query in the text box, it's going to be submitted to this API. It's going to come in through here and be substituted into your SQL. So where display name, like if I have %Dale %, it's going to just return the values that qualify. And then, so this is the SQL, that's the list that's going to be created. We'll call it user list. And we'll create a response that is, we're outputting a list, existing list as JSON. So this is a very quick way to get data out. 2 actions, we're done. So it's the same user list, and we'll send it with a 200 OK. And that's it. So let's save and test this thing. If I just click get response, I get a whole big long list of users. And if I put in Dale as the query, I get a much shorter list of users. So the API is working to get the data that we want. I want to point out there's we've got these 2 kind of required fields. It's looking the this feature of the text box that we're about to take advantage of is looking for this kind of structure where you've got an array that has a JSON array that has a value property and a text property, and it's going to know what to do with those. And the other thing I'll point out is JSON. This is one of those areas in our product that the names are case sensitive. You're going to want to use value with a capital V and text with a capital T because that's exactly what it's expecting. Once you've built your API, the get is down here in the sample code, and so we can just copy this URL, and that's all we need. And so we can go back to our text box with autocomplete and go back into our form. Call this the text box with URL form, but in selected user, where we have this text box, we can paste this API call, and it's going to know exactly what to do with it. So this is the URL of an API that provides autocomplete suggestions. The API will be called using a get, and whatever you type into the text box is passed as the query, so that's why we did a query. There's some other ways to do it, so you can read through this, but doing nothing more than that and refreshing the screen, this is now going to start acting like a text box, like a autocomplete. So if I do DAL, we see suggestions that we can pick from, and if we just say we have these values that can be used, and then let's take a look at I may have been wrong. Let's take a look at what we get out of this. So I'm going to do my debug button, debug values, and we'll take a look at in two actions. We can see what's being submitted here. So we're going to do context JSON array that stores everything that we get back in our submit into a token called tokens, and then we'll display an error message with the tokens token so that we can see what gets submitted back. The thing that I'm working on is we need to figure out how to get this is going to get the text. I think we got to do some extra work to get the value. So selected user is empty. If I pick Dale Warner and submit again, now we get selected user has the value of Dale Warner, but we don't have the user ID. So backing up a little bit, let's see how to fix that. The text, the setup here tells us so we had to include text as an element. That's the thing that gets displayed. And then when you need to use the value instead of the text, you can use form fields, field ID, selected value as part of the bind expressions. So let's see if we can make this work. We need that. We need the name of this thing is selected user, and we'll get we'll add a new field of the text that is going to be the user ID. So we want to send the user ID to this spot here. So I believe what it's telling me is I can use the bind expressions, and when this change happens, we can set the user ID equal to the forms fields field ID. Well, the field ID is actually selected user value. So hopefully this will be the right syntax. Otherwise, you know me, I can't do JavaScript. So let's see if we follow instructions, if this works. So I'm going to select a user. And no, didn't work. So I'll have to figure out what the right syntax is for that one, but there is a way to get the other values from, and as long as we're doing it, let's see if we can figure it out. So this is the on change click. Instead of doing this, let's go into debug mode. There's a way to activate debug mode. Again, I'm struggling with my JavaScript here, so I might not be doing it right, but let's see if it does. So we'll click debug. Oh, no, sorry, not click debug. Let's get rid of that. The API is working good. Selected user on change click. We are going to do a.
Dale, is that an equal sign there after user ID? It should be.
It
Doesn't
is
look
an
like
equal.
it.
Yes, I've got it commented out at the moment, but it is an equal sign.
Okay.
Do you think it should have been something else?
No.
Okay.
Looks like a dash.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
And the brackets are supposed to be around user ID?
In that case, well, we'll see. I think it should be, but let's see if we can find what we need to find here. So see how this has their console has logged hello here, which is good. That means that our console log statement was being executed. JavaScript was done when this happened. So when we click it, we can find our JavaScript, and I can put it into debug mode by clicking there. So if I do it again, it's has activated the debugger, and let's see if we can navigate down and find form fields, selected user. As a value. And it said that we could use.
It would help if you knew what the user ID was for this person.
It would be easy. That's a good point. That would help us see if we can find it. But it said we could use form fields field ID selected. Form fields selected user. I don't see selected. Let's. So I will thrash around only a minute or two more, and then
Instead of a hello in your console log, you could put your form field selected user, selected value.
that, and so I'm going to do that and see what it does as well. I'm probably going to have to turn out, okay. Well, cannot read properties of undefined reading value. So apparently that doesn't exist and it's causing us problems. I'll have to go back. Perhaps something about this has changed and maybe needs some attention. So backing up, what did we learn? You can use the autocomplete. You can look up text, the value of text from an API, and it will retrieve it no problem. I'm going to try one more thing because I'm an experimenter at heart. If we go into APIs and look at our definition of our API and the output that we're sending, I'm going to try sending it with a pipe. So display name plus pipe plus user ID as text. Save and test. Run it. Nope. Bad SQL. Oh, need to cast that. I'm gonna user ID was a needs conversion, and I don't want to mess with it. So I'm just gonna put the first name there to demonstrate whether this makes any difference. So first of all, we'll quit doing this, and didn't help at all. I was thinking maybe that would do text value as a pipe like the items construct, but no. So we can reliably get text. We got to figure out how to get value and take that up for a future episode.
Oh, this was worth looking at, Dale. This is a pretty cool thing. The autocomplete.
Well, thank you for that. This is there's so much in this product, and this is the challenge as I try to figure out how to document things is and maybe how to teach it, that there's just like an onion, there's layer after layer of things that have been put in over a dozen years and are now 15 years, and knowing that they're there, knowing how to use them, uh, part of the problem, part of the challenge. I want to thank you guys for joining this week, and we'll have a short afterglow session in a bit. So if you want to hang on, we'll turn the recording off and chat a little bit more, and then we'll see you again next week, the same time. Thanks all. See you then.
Thanks, Dale.